Yoga means to connect.
瑜伽嘅意思咧就係去到連結、連接。
連接。
連接。
And so, what sort of connection are we talking about? We're talking about connection between ourselves and the super self.
咁呢一個嘅連結咧，係我哋嘅自我啦，同埋呢一個嘅超靈或者高我，或者我哋叫高我嘅一個嘅連接。
And that's what we want to do right from the beginning by singing Krishna's names.
咁所以我哋一開始嘅時候咧，我哋先唱一唱Krishna 呢一個名字喎。
Shall we try that?
我哋試下好唔好啊？
Why not? And this can be done in many ways, including musical. So we have some musical arrangement here.
咁我哋唱嘅時候可以有一啲嘅樂器去到伴奏嘅。
We have Lakshman on Mridanga.
我哋有請 Lakshman 啦，就係打鼓嘅鼓手。
I'm not good at
which is very traditional Indian drum.
喺印度咧，個好傳統嘅鼓嚟嘅喎。
And we have a harmonium, which is not very traditional.
咁呢一個harmonium 琴咧，就比起佢單架就冇咁即係歷史咁耐嘅。
It's from the colonial time in India. They brought some kind of organ and they transformed it into small instruments.
咁就係印度殖民嘅時候咧，咁佢哋喺外國有嗰啲叫管風琴啊，然之後佢哋將佢重組之後咧，就變成咁樣嘅一個琴。
And we have kartals.
Yes.
Yeah, kartals are also very traditional instruments.
呢個都係一個好傳統嘅樂器嚟嘅 kartals。
Okay, so what we do, maybe you're familiar. I will sing and you can listen, then you can sing and I can listen.
咁等陣我哋唱嘅時候咧，個方式咧就係我唱啦，跟住大家聽。咁大家唱嘅時候咧，我就聽啦，一唱一和。你試下。
Hare
How do you say as it is in 广东话？
原意，
原
意。
OK， Bhagavad Gita 原意。
博伽梵歌原意。博伽梵歌。
博伽梵歌原意。Yes, this is Borga梵歌。Oh, this is heavier. Yes, nice. So let us discuss Bhagavad Gita as a book of yoga.
咁我哋一齊去到討論一下呢博伽梵歌呢一本書喎，一本瑜伽嘅書。
Nowadays, many people who practice yoga have heard of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali.
咁而家呢個世代咧，好多人去到練習瑜伽嘅時候咧，聽過一本書就係瑜伽經，由 Patanjali 寫。
I see you were nodding.
有啲朋友點頭。
Many have heard of Yoga Sutras, and more have heard of Bhagavad Gita.
咁而家越嚟越多人都認識博伽梵歌呢一本書。
There's another famous text of yoga which is less known but still known, and that is the Hatha Yoga Pradipika.
另外一本書咧就係講呢個哈達瑜伽嘅 Pradipika。
So all these refer to or have to do with yoga.
咁呢啲書都係同瑜伽有關嘅。
And beyond the practice of yoga as asana, which I think you're all doing, there's a philosophy of yoga.
咁所以瑜伽除咗我哋即係都會做嘅一啲體位法啊、息事之外咧，其實有瑜伽嘅哲學。
There's a philosophy of practice because yoga emphasizes practice, but the question will be there, why? Why should I do this?
咁瑜伽裏面咧包含住呢一個嘅練習 ，OK？ 咁但係我哋會問點解要咁樣做咧？
We like to know why to do things.
我哋有時候想知道自己做嘅事情背後嘅原因係乜嘢？
Why should I make all this effort?
點解我要咁努力去到練習咧？
And these ideas about yoga are very ancient. There are debates how old is the Yoga Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita.
咁所以瑜伽呢一個嘅概念咧，其實已經係好古老㗎啦。咁亦都係喺啲經典，譬如瑜伽經裏面去到討論，究竟呢個係咩嚟嘅咧？
The yoga tradition says that the Bhagavad Gita is some 5,000 years old.
咁佢哋呢啲嘅文獻啦，會有即係有時唔同嘅年代啦。咁呢一個就博伽梵歌裏面，博伽梵歌呢個關於瑜伽嘅書咧，就有5000年嘅歷史。
The modern scholars are skeptical about this.
但係而家現代嗰啲嘅學者就有少少懷疑啊，有冇咁耐啊？
And they're more ready to agree that maybe it's 2,000 years old.
咁佢哋話呢本書應該大概2000年嘅歷史啦。
But even a book that's 2,000 years old, it's still being read today. Maybe it has something valuable.
但係呢一本書係咪2000年一路流傳落嚟，到而家都有人去到閱讀，咁應該有佢嘅價值所在。
Yes. If I write a book, maybe someone reads it for the next 2 or 3 years, and then You're looking for something else.
係可能我寫
It
本
goes out of
書，
print.
咁有人睇可能2-3年嘅時間，咁之後就淘汰啦，或者唔會再印啦。
Awesome, maybe we show that. A little bit of self-promotion. Yeah, so the Bhagavad Gita is a very long, enduring book. We can say a book of wisdom, of yoga wisdom.
咁所以博伽梵歌佢即一路都流傳落嚟咧，咁係一本智慧嘅書啊。OK， 關於瑜伽智慧嘅書，源遠流長。
And it's in a different style from the Yoga Sutras. The Yoga Sutra is in the form of sutras, and sutras are very, very compact aphorisms.
咁呢一個博伽梵歌同埋瑜伽經咧，佢嗰個風格有啲唔同嘅。瑜伽經咧裡面嗰啲嘅詩節咧係非常之濃縮嘅。
And there's a theory that they were composed to help students to remember the philosophy because they're so short. They would understand much more than what the actual statements.
咁所以呢一個瑜伽經裏面嘅 sutra 咧，佢係好精煉啦。咁其實咧就係幫助我啲學生咧可以好容易記晒呢一啲嘅詩節，但係咧佢哋理解呢個詩節嘅時候咧，係比呢一個詩節咧係個內容咧係更加深廣嘅。
So when you read a translation of Yoga Sutras, you may read 1 or 2 or 3 sutras and think, right, so what does that mean?
咁如果你去睇瑜伽經嘅話，你可能睇咗頭嗰2-3個詩字，跟住你睇下，你就會問啦，究竟係講緊啲乜嘢咧？
When I was in college, I got a copy of the Yoga Sutras with a translation and also commentary.
我讀大學嘅時候咧，就獲得呢一本書咧《瑜伽經》啦，裏面咧就有譯文，同埋咧有一個嘅評註嘅。
And reading the commentary, the main message of the commentary was this yoga is very difficult to practice.
咁所以睇完嗰個評註之後咧，我有個感覺咧，就係呢一個嘅瑜伽實在係好難去到實踐出嚟。
Practically, it's impossible.
係幾乎係冇可能。
And I thought, why am I reading a book to tell me about a process of yoga which is impossible?
咁我就問自己點解我睇一本書，而書裏面話俾我聽呢一個嘅練習係冇可能做到嘅。
But also in one of the commentaries it said, but in this age there is a way to practice yoga which can be done in this age, and it's called bhakti yoga.
咁咧，但係喺呢一本書嘅評註裏面咧，有一句説話就係話喺呢一個年代有一個嘅瑜伽嘅練習修習係可以做嘅，而嗰個修習咧就係奉愛瑜伽。
I remembered that, and then some years later I came to meet persons who were practicing bhakti yoga, and they said, we study Bhagavad Gita.
咁所以當時我就留住咗呢個嘅印象啦。咁過咗幾年之後咧，我就遇到一啲去到修習奉愛瑜伽嘅人，咁咧佢哋就推薦我睇呢一本書《博伽梵歌》。
Because in those days there was no internet, there was no Google to search what is bhakti yoga, where can I learn it.
因為嗰個年代咧冇呢啲網絡啦，又冇即係 Google 啦，你可以搜尋啦，究竟咩係奉愛瑜伽，咩博伽梵歌。
So when I came to find, Bhagavad Gita, it's about bhakti yoga. That's the kind of yoga that we can do in this age.
咁所以當我獲得博伽梵歌呢本書嘅時候咧，我就醒起啦，奉愛瑜伽喺呢個年代可以修習嘅瑜伽嘅修習。
And I also found that the Bhagavad Gita is much more readable because it's not in these compact sutra forms.
咁所以對比起瑜伽經 個咁精煉嘅文字喺博伽梵歌係比較容易明啲。
Rather, it's in the form of verses which are much more expanded and more clear.
咁所以呢一啲嘅詩詞咧係更加嘅清晰，同埋咧佢嘅內容咧更加開展啊，更加擴展出嚟個意思。
And also, I was very happy to see that the Bhagavad Gita is in the form of a dialogue.
令我好開心咧，就係博伽梵歌裡面嘅內容咧，其實係一段對話嚟嘅。
This is a huge help for us because it's a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, and Arjuna he's kind of representing all of us.
咁所以呢一段嘅對話咧係 Krishna 同埋 Arjuna 之間嘅。咁 Arjuna 咧其實代表住我哋每一位。
More space on this side, if you want. Maybe let you As you okay. Yeah, dialogue. So Arjuna is like us who are learning yoga, and Krishna is one of Krishna's names is Yogeshwar. He's the best yogi.
咁所以Arjuna 咧就係一個好似我哋咁樣去學習瑜伽嘅人，咁而 Krishna 咧就係瑜伽之主啊 ，Yogeshwar 佢有呢一個嘅名字，佢係最佳嘅、最優秀嘅瑜伽師。
And as a conversation, as a dialogue, there's a kind of back and forth which invites us to really enter in to the spirit of what is being said.
咁所以喺呢一個嘅對話個對答啊來往之間咧，我哋就去到深入睇究竟裡面所帶出嘅精神係乜嘢咧？
And what is this spirit? Well, there's a dramatic aspect of Bhagavad Gita, because in the beginning, Arjuna, who represents all of us, is in great distress.
咁所以呢一個精神咧喺當中咧係好戲劇化嘅。咁Arjuna即係我哋在座嘅每一位啦，代表住咁咧佢係一個非常之絕望嘅一個處境開始嘅時候。
And so this is highlighting the fact that actually all of us, more or less, are in a state of distress. Maybe much of the time we're not so aware.
咁所以其實事實上我哋每一個人都會有一啲嘅絕望係咪啊？或者沮喪或者悲傷嘅時候，可能有陣時我哋自己都唔察覺。
Yeah, Arjuna is in a particularly acutely distressed condition because he's standing on a battlefield where a battle is about to take place.
咁Arjuna 嗰個情景咧，佢嗰種絕望咧係非常之嚴峻嘅。咁因為咧佢面對嘅時刻咧就係一場嘅戰爭咧即將要展開。
And he's between two armies who are about to go at each other and start killing each other.
咁佢喺兩軍嘅陣營嘅中間啦，咁咧就兩軍咧就準備咧係開戰，即係互相廝殺。
And he's supposed to fight on one side against the other, but there are so many friends on the other side. He said, "Wait, I can't do this."
咁但係咧Arjuna 個處境咧就係對方嘅陣營咧都係佢嘅一啲嘅朋友、熟悉嘅人，所以咧佢當時咧就即係唔可以即係冇個決心去到作戰。
So it's a highly stressful condition.
咁所以佢當時係非常之即係非常之壓力好大。
So he's not like us when we maybe think, yeah, maybe I'll do some yoga. This will help me to relax and feel better in my life.
咁同我哋平時做瑜伽個心境好唔同喎，係咪？我哋平時做瑜伽諗住做完之後放鬆啦，感覺良好啦。咁Arjuna唔係呢種嘅情景。
I'm a little distressed. Maybe my life is stressful, and it would be good if if I could do some yoga, it would be good for my health, and I would be more peaceful.
可能我哋諗下可能生活好逼人啊，好大壓力啊，咁我做下瑜伽咧，可能對我嘅身體健康好啊。
That's okay. In fact, Krishna explains, where is it? In the 7th chapter, he explains that there's different kinds of people who take up yoga, or people have different motivations.
咁其實都冇問題嘅，因為咧Krishna 咧喺第7章博伽梵歌第7章裏面講到咧，有唔同嘅種類嘅人，佢有唔同嘅動機去到接觸瑜伽嘅。
And Swami says come because they're curious.
有啲人去到接觸瑜伽咧係因為好奇心。
And some come because they're distressed.
有啲就係因為好痛苦唔開心。
And some come because they think if I do yoga, then I'll be better at business.
咁有啲人去到接觸瑜伽，可能就係覺得我做完瑜伽之後，我生意就會興旺啲啦。
And a 4th category says some take up yoga because they already have some higher knowledge of spiritual things.
咁另外一類人咧提到咧，就係佢哋去接觸瑜伽，因為佢本身已經有一啲嘅關於靈性嘅一啲嘅比較高層次嘅知識。
But the point I want to make is that the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita is for it's about taking life quite seriously and transforming our lives.
咁我想帶出就係博伽梵歌嘅精神咧，就係我哋去到認真去看待我哋嘅生命啦，同埋喺生命裏面咧有轉化。
Yoga, and in particular bhakti yoga, it's not about making what we might call cosmetic solutions to our situation.
Cosmetic solution.
Yeah.
OK， 咁所以瑜伽即係佢裏面蘊含嘅精神就係唔係即係我哋嘅生活裏面咧講佢化妝，即係外在咁樣去到粉飾。
Yeah, so maybe an example from medical, we have doctor with us, would be maybe I have some skin problem.
咁我舉個例子，我哋呢度有醫生啊，譬如好似你有皮膚病咁樣。
And I think, okay, I'll put some cream on it.
咁我可能搽啲潤膚膏啦。
And it'll be okay.
咁就冇事啦。
But actually it's not okay because the skin problem is just a symptom of something deeper.
咁但係其實唔係真係可以，即係唔係真係冇事嘅，因為嗰個皮膚病其實只不過係一個表徵，裡面仲有啲更加深層嘅問題。
So yoga culture, and bhakti in particular, it's about getting at the root of our condition.
咁所以瑜伽尤其是係奉愛瑜伽啦，其實佢就係針對咧我哋呢一個嘅現在身處嘅呢個境況嘅一個根部根深蒂固嘅嘢。
Now this may sound a little scary.
咁你聽完之後可能覺得有啲驚喎。
But Krishna reassures us in the beginning of chapter 9. The Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. Beginning of chapter 9, he reassures us, and also elsewhere.
咁但係Krishna 咧就去到令我哋放心，佢就喺博伽梵歌嘅第9章開始嘅時候就講咗呢番説話。
When he says susukam kartum avyayam, he says this yoga is very joyfully performed.
咁佢喺呢個詩節裏面講咧，佢話呢一個嘅瑜伽咧，我哋去到實踐起嚟嘅時候咧，係充滿住快樂嘅。快樂。Joy。
Yes. And he also speaks of joyfulness where is it? In chapter 6, there's a very nice description of the yogi who gets things fixed. Yes. Sukham atyantikam yata buddhibrahamatim. He's describing when we reach the perfection of yoga. This is called samadhi.
當我哋喺第6章裏面咧 ，Krishna 講到，當我哋去到瑜伽嘅完美嘅境界，稱為三摩地 （samadhi）。
And he gives a little sketch of what that's like.
佢就輕輕咁樣描述一下，究竟嗰個境界係點樣嘅。
He says it's characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind.
咁呢一個純粹嘅純潔嘅心意咧，能夠咧見到真正嘅自我。
What does that mean?
咩意思咧？
Well, for one thing, it means there's two different things. There's the self and there's the mind. They're different.
There's the self and there's
the
mind. 咁咧其中一個意思咧就係有呢一個嘅自我啦，另外一邊廂咧就係呢個嘅心意。
And that's explained elsewhere in the Gita, but the point is there's something called the self, and that something that is called the self we understand is something different from what we usually think we are.
咁所以呢一個嘅自我，真正嘅自我咧，同我哋一般認識嘅自我咧係有啲唔同嘅。
Yeah. And something that we think we are usually is about our physical body and our minds and all things associated with these.
咁所以我哋一般對自己嘅理解咧，自我嘅了解咧，就係同我哋呢一個嘅身體有關啦，或者我哋嘅心意啦，或者同呢兩者即係相連嘅嘢。
It extends out to our social identity.
跟住再擴展開去咧，就我哋一啲嘅社交嘅身份。
Our national identity.
或者我哋嘅國籍啦。
Our identity as one or another gender.
我哋嘅性別啦。
All these things, what Krishna is telling us, and this is part of what maybe make us uncomfortable, is we are not any of this.
咁 Krishna 咧喺博伽梵歌裏面話，其實我哋都唔係所有以上嘅一切。咁我哋聽到之後，可能會覺得有少少唔舒服嘅，唔自在。
And we may say, but if I'm not any of these things, which I think that I am, then there's nothing left.
咁如果頭先講嗰啲嘢都唔係我嚟嘅話，咁仲剩翻啲咩咧？
And what is being explained in the Gita is, no, that's not at all true.
咁梵歌裏面去到博伽梵歌裏面解釋話，其實嗰啲都唔係唔真實嘅。
What we really are is a fountain of joyfulness, which is not dependent on our particular conditions.
咁其實我哋真正嘅自我咧，就好似一個喜悅嘅噴泉啊，快樂嘅噴泉咁樣。
And therefore, Krishna says, this perfection, I was saying before, is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind.
咁所以頭先嗰個詩節咧，我再講多次咧，就係去到瑜伽呢一個完美嘅境界嘅時候咧，就能夠咧用呢一個純潔嘅心意咧，去到見到自我。
And to relish and rejoice in the self.
而且咧喺呢一個嘅自我當中咧，係去到品味啦、品嚐啦，同埋係有呢一個嘅喜悅。
Now everyone is looking like, okay, maybe not.
咁大家睇落去樣好似可能係，好似又唔係喎。
But Krishna is inviting us to, he's inviting us to make a serious experiment.
咁但係 Krishna 咧喺呢一度咧，去邀請我哋去做一個嘅實驗。
To see if this might be true, what he says.
咁咧去試下實驗下，究竟佢所講嘅説話係咪真嘅咧
？He goes on to say, in that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness.
咁喺嗰個喜悅嘅狀態咧，一個人咧能夠經驗呢種無窮無盡嘅無界限嘅呢一種嘅快樂。
Realized through transcendental senses.
咁咧就係用呢一個嘅超然嘅感官咧去到領悟。
What does that mean?
係咩意思咧？超然嘅感官去到領悟。
Well, we all have senses. We can, most people we are fortunate. We can hear, taste, see, smell, and touch.
咁我哋都好幸運啦，有5種嘅感官係咪？可以眼睛去睇到啦、聞到啦、嘗到啦，有呢個觸覺啦，有呢個聽覺。
But these senses are all tuned in a certain way since we were babies. We're tuned to just immediate physical objects and so on.
咁但係由我哋細個開始咧，我哋呢一啲嘅感官咧就係被好似去訓練到同呢一啲嘅物質嘅嘢去到連接觸。
And the mind, remember we said the mind is different from the self. The mind is, according to Krishna, it's also a kind of inner sense.
咁我哋頭先講過咧，呢一個嘅心意啦，同埋咧自我咧係唔一樣嘅。咁呢個心意咧，其實係一個內在嘅感官。
So what's the point?
咁係咩意思咧
The point is that Krishna here is speaking about transcendental senses. What does he mean by that?
Krishna 所講咧係一個超然嘅感官喎。咁究竟係咩嚟嘅咧？
He means that through the practice of yoga, our present senses, seeing, hearing, touching, everything, can become purified.
咁 Krishna 嘅意思咧就係透過瑜伽嘅修習，我哋嘅唔同嘅感官咧就能夠得到淨化。聽唔聽到？聲線 OK。
Everyone here is okay?
The broadcast is not okay.
Oh, the broadcast.
We can't hear because there's some noise in the background.
Oh.
For those listening on Facebook, it's very difficult.
Oh. We're just talking about senses and the problem is...
啱啱講起感官，個聽覺就唔得啦。
Broadcast is not okay.
But shouldn't Lilamai be heard instead of me?
我哋兩個都係。
就係話 Facebook 聽唔到咯，就話。
You can hear.
OK。我試下，我就咁拎住。
Or else you sit on this side.
Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3。你坐呢邊啊？你都問醫生。
因為轉個 Facebook 個咪可能會啲啦，而家 Facebook
唔識講。喂1 2 3。哦。
轉個 Facebook 個咪。
哦，係啊，嗰個細咪仔。OK， yeah, they arranging the one small mic usually for the class.
What would we do without all of our technology?
如果冇呢啲科技，我哋仲點樣生活咧？
你講中文，你梗係聽唔到。
Yeah, so, okay, what's the point? The point is Krishna's talking about senses and some sort of transformation of the senses through a process of yoga.
所以 Krishna 講咧就係透過瑜伽呢一個嘅過程，咁咧就會轉化呢一啲嘅感官。
And how that process, how to do that, that's what the whole Bhagavad Gita is about.
咁點樣做到呢一點咧？就係整部博伽梵歌裏面去到解釋啦。
But one very compact statement, which is, it's actually not in the Bhagavad Gita, it's elsewhere, says in a very helpful way, how this purification works of the senses.
咁有一個嘅講法咧，就係但唔喺博伽梵歌裏面嘅，就係講咧點樣可以去到淨化呢一啲感官嘅一個程序。
Atasri Krishna namadi nabhavet grahyam in seva muke hi jihado swayameva spurati adha. So it's saying that we can't really perceive non-physical things with our senses. It's a problem.
因為一啲非物質嘅東西咧，其實我哋嘅感官咧係冇辦法去到感知到嘅。
We can't, and specifically we cannot perceive our best friend, who is the super self, who is accompanying us wherever we go.
咁尤其是咧係冇辦法去到感知呢一個嘅超我、高我嘅超靈，其實咧佢係一直去陪伴住我哋嘅。
Remember, I was saying, what is yoga? Yoga means connection, and specifically connection between us, the self, and what's called the super self, Atma, Param Atma.
咁所以瑜伽意思咧就係呢一個嘅自我啦、靈魂啦，同埋呢一個超靈之間嘅連接。
If we can make that connection, then you're good.
如果可以做到呢一個連接，就非常之好啦。
And that's what's being described in this verse. Established thus, one never departs from the truth.
咁如果一個人穩處呢一種狀態嘅時候咧，佢永遠都唔會偏離真理。
And upon gaining this, here we go. Oh, I also like to wear one.
To your throat. Yeah. Click on the yeah.
Maybe like this.
The scalp is
So? Okay, now we're all wired up.
而家俾啲電視網住。
Yeah, he says, established thus, one never departs from the truth.
咁所以一個人穩處於呢一種狀態咧，佢就永遠都唔會偏離真理。
And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain.
咁當佢獲得呢一種嘅境界嘅時候咧，就冇其他更加高嘅境界。
Okay, so back up a little bit. I was explaining. We want to connect the self and the super self.
咁頭先我哋講過咧，我哋想將我哋嘅靈魂啦同埋超靈咧係去到連接。
And we want to do that through our senses, but we can't perceive through our senses.
咁我哋想用我哋嘅感官去到做到啦，但係我哋又冇辦法去到用我哋感官去到感知喎。
So we need to purify the senses.
於是咧，我哋就要去淨化呢一啲嘅感官。
What does that mean? Purify the senses.
咁淨化感官係咩意思咧？
I should wash my eyes.
係咪洗眼？
I should wash my ears.
洗耳
What do you mean?
係咩意思啊？
No, it's a process of, we could say, tuning in to sensitize our senses to what is there but we don't see.
咁個意思就係要去到調頻啦 ，OK， 調到一個頻率咧，你係可以用呢一個嘅感官咧去到感知嗰啲我哋冇辦法感知嘅嘢。
So the verse I quoted before, Seva Umuke Hi Jihvado, the Sanskrit word jihva means the tongue.
咁梵文 jit 嘅意思就係舌頭。
And the word seva means service.
Seva 嘅意思係服務。
Now we're talking about bhakti yoga.
而家我哋講嘅係奉愛瑜伽。奉愛瑜伽。奉愛瑜伽。Yeah. Oops. Now we're going to get photographed.
Because the senses of the phone are more sensitive. So anyway,
電話都有感官嘅。
so this is Bhakti Yoga. Why? Because it's about seva. And what is seva? Seva is service.
咁我哋講嘅奉愛瑜伽咧，裡面嘅精神咧就係服務 seva。
We don't like that word seva. We don't like the word service.
咁我哋唔中意呢一個字要服務。
It's one of those words that make us uncomfortable.
其中一個令到我哋覺得唔舒服嘅字。
But that's because we're accustomed to service to persons who are not in a position to take service from us.
咁呢個係咩原因咧？就係我哋去到服務一啲嘅對象，但係呢一啲對象咧，其實佢唔冇嗰個位置去接受我哋嘅服務。
If we could find someone who is really worthy of being served,
如果我哋能夠揾到嗰啲嘅人物，我哋係值得我哋去服務嘅話，
then we would be very happy, very satisfied in that service.
咁我哋就會喺呢一個服務裏面咧，好滿足而且好快樂。
So that's what the Bhagavad Gita.
Now it's real.
Now it works. Now we can start over.
轉頭講一次啊！早啲入嚟先。
Just he arrived, this works.
Huh?
Just he arrives.
Just when you arrive.
Then it works.
Okay. Thank you.
唔該晒。
Go to yeah. Okay. Seva. This is this awkward word that makes us uncomfortable.
咁頭先我哋講服務呢一個字，令到我哋有啲尷尬。
But if we could find the right person to serve, someone we could really get full reciprocation from, this would be very satisfying.
但係如果我哋揾啱嗰個嘅對象去到服務嘅話咧，而嗰個對象亦都知道點樣完全嘅而全面嘅去到回應嘅話咧，你就會覺得好滿足啦。
So Krishna says, a couple of chapters before this, he says about reciprocation. He says, "Ye yatamam prapadyante, tongues tataiva prapajami aham." And the word aham means I.
咁喺之前嘅一章裏面咧講到咧阿堪我。
Yes. Tongues tata eva bhajami. As we approach the super self will reciprocate with us. It's a kind of formula.
咁所以喺呢一個詩字裏面講咧，好似一個嘅公式啊。OK， 我哋去到接近呢一個嘅高我或者超靈嘅方式嘅程度，而相對嘅程度咧，佢就會回應我哋。
Yeah. So if we can find ways to serve the supreme, the super self, then the super self is going to respond.
咁所以如果我哋揾到一個嘅方法，去到服務呢一個嘅超靈或者高我嘅時候咧，佢就會以相對應嘅程度咧去到回應我哋。
And that's going to make us deeply satisfied within.
咁呢個咧令到我哋內在係非常之滿足。
We can do so much yoga, asana. We can become super yogis doing amazing yoga asanas.
我哋可能做好多好式子啊 ，OK， 或者我哋成為呢個超級嘅瑜伽師。
But sooner or later, these material bodies are going to collapse.
但係遲早咧，呢一個嘅物質嘅軀體咧，都係會粉碎嘅。
Yeah. The word sharira in Sanskrit means that which will collapse.
咁 sharira 嘅意思就係會去到瓦解、粉碎。
But what will not collapse is the Atma, the self,
咁
ourselves.
乜嘢係唔會去到粉碎咧？就係呢一個嘅自我。
And if we can use our body while it's healthy, which means really using the senses in service to the master of the senses, we can prepare ourselves for when the body is going to say no more.
咁所以如果我哋能夠運用我哋而家仲健康嘅身體，有呢啲嘅感官，去到服務呢一個嘅感官嘅主人，咁所以當呢一個身體即係唔再用到嘅時候咧，就完結啦呢個身體。
And then Krishna has good news for us. He says, Dhiras tatra na mukhyati. One will not be bewildered at the time of death.
咁一個人喺死亡嘅一刻咧，都唔會疑惑。
Because just like we walked in this room from the other room, so we can walk from this body to another.
就好似我哋喺呢一間房去到另外一間房，咁我哋可以由一個嘅軀體去到另外一個軀體。
And according to Krishna, we can walk into not another temporary body, but a permanent body.
我哋咧根據 Krishna 咧，我哋唔單止可以咧去到進入呢一個嘅另外一個嘅物質嘅軀體，甚至咧可以進入一個永恆嘅軀體，唔係短暫。
So that's a very broad sketch of what the Bhagavad Gita is about, using a very wide brush.
咁所以頭先我所講咧就係對博伽梵歌一個嘅好簡單嘅一個嘅描述，就好似拎支好粗嘅畫筆喺度畫咁。
But maybe I should just kind of stop or pause there and see if there's any question.
咁我喺度停一停，大家會唔會有問題咧？
Anything you want me to explain more or
或者
whatever?
想老師去到解釋多啲嘅。
Yes.
How we can realize more and more that we are not this body and we are soul.
Yeah.
點樣可以越嚟越去到覺悟到，其實我唔係呢一個軀體，我係呢一個嘅靈性。
Because when we realize that we are body, then only we feel pain and grief.
如果我哋淨係認同自己呢個身體嘅時候咧，我哋所帶嚟嘅就係唔開心咯、悲傷。
Even
Yes.
though, sorry.
Yeah, so in the very beginning, almost beginning of the second chapter, Krishna is explaining this to Arjuna.
咁所以喺博伽梵歌嘅開始嘅時候，第二章咧 ，Krishna 就向阿朱娜去到解釋。
He's saying that you are lamenting, you are grieving because you're identifying with the body.
咁 Krishna 就同阿朱娜講啦，點解你會悲傷咧？因為咧，你去到認同咗你嘅身體、你嘅軀體。
And then his first very practical advice is learn to tolerate.
咁佢俾出嘅第一個嘅建議咧，就係你要學習去到容忍。
And then he says, we experience all sorts of dualities.
咁我哋會經歷唔同嘅二元性啦。
Heat and cold, happiness and distress.
冷暖啦，喜呢個苦樂啦。
And any number of different dualities.
其他嘅呢啲嘅二元性。
Essentially, later he explains, we experience desire and hatred, attraction and aversion.
咁我哋又經歷呢一個嘅喜惡啦，或者去到接受啦，或者抗拒。
So the first thing he advises is learn to tolerate these dualities.
咁所以 Krishna 對於阿朱娜第一個嘅建議咧，就係要學習去容忍。
And we learn that already as small children to some extent.
咁我哋細個就已經學緊呢樣嘢啦。
Isn't it?
Have
We get so many, so much in the way of guidance, so many things. As small children, we're disturbed, we cry, and later we learn, well, it's not really something to cry about.
咁所以細個有時有啲嘢就會喊啦，但係喊咗一陣之後就意識到其實都唔需要再喊啦。
So to some extent, we already know this lesson quite well.
所以其實我哋對於容忍呢一個嘅教導咧，都認識嘅。
But when this is made explicit, then we see actually there's much more I can practice in terms of tolerance.
咁但係如果我哋再去到深入睇嘅時候咧，就對於容忍咧，仲有其他嘅嘢我哋可以去學習嘅。
But that's just kind of the basic step. That's kind of step one. But it's an important step.
呢個係第一步，但係好重要嘅一步。
Because the idea is to start to learn to see that one condition and another condition are on certain levels not really different.
咁所以就會睇到咧一個嘅處境同埋另外一個處境，其實之間係冇太大嘅分別。
And so a lot of what Krishna is speaking about is what I call therapeutic non-duality.
咁 Krishna 裏面所講，我稱為一種就係療愈性嘅非二元性。
So it's a kind of conscious practice of learning to see with equal vision all kinds of circumstances.
咁係一種嘅練習嚟嘅，不斷嘅練習，去面對唔同嘅處境嘅時候咧，都能夠保持同樣嘅目光。
And that practice is really the core of becoming detached from the physical and mental bodies, which are constantly they're pushing us in so many directions.
咁所以呢一種嘅練習咧，就能夠讓到我哋唔再去到依附呢一個嘅即係物質嘅軀體啦，或者呢一個嘅心念啦，因為呢一啲嘢就係不斷咁改變波動。
Just like right now, we may feel relatively comfortable sitting however we're sitting.
譬如好似我哋而家坐喺呢度都覺得舒服嘅。
But, after 5 minutes, we want to shift somehow.
過咗5分鐘之後，有時想喐下個身。
And at some point, you're asking yourself, when is he going to stop talking so I can stand up and stretch?
咁可能去到一個時刻咯，佢幾時會講完啊？咁我可以起身去伸展下。
Because the body it's always more or less uncomfortable in this world.
咁所以呢個身體喺呢一個世界會覺得唔舒服咯。
So a lot of what yoga is, including asana yoga, when you're practicing asanas, you're observing how the body is stretching in different ways, and that is a way of actually bringing your mind to a position aloof from the body.
咁所以譬如我哋練習啲體位法嘅時候咧，我哋會去到察覺究竟我哋嘅身體點樣去到拉展啦、伸展啦。咁咧呢個都係一個練習咧，令到我哋嘅心念咧同埋嗰個身體咧分開。
Yeah, actually, the Bhagavad Gita doesn't say very much about asana.
佛家梵歌裏面講得唔係冇乜講呢一個嘅體位嘅。
And the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, also has, I think, altogether two very short sutras about asana.
咁喺瑜伽經裏面只有2句係講到呢一個體位法嘅。
And in both cases, they basically say, sit comfortably when you do yoga.
咁所以兩本書裏面講話，當你做瑜伽嘅時候咧，要坐得舒服嘅。
And all the yoga asanas that we do, this is something that's developed. I mentioned the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, other texts. Yeah.
咁所以其他即係之後再演變出嚟嗰啲嘅瑜伽式子咧，就係即係其他嘅書裏面去到描述。
But on a deeper level, again to your question, it's about developing it's about getting tuned in to listen to a higher truth.
咁回應你嘅問題咧，就係要去到調整到去聆聽更加高嘅真理嘅知識。
We listen, we hear in different ways, and Arjuna is one model of such listening.
咁我哋會有唔同嘅方式去到聆聽啦，而阿朱那咧就係一個嘅例子，一個典範，點樣去到聆聽。
Just hearing Krishna explaining in the Bhagavad Gita.
咁佢喺聆聽喺博伽梵歌裏面，阿朱那聆聽 Krishna 嘅解釋。
And another way of hearing is hearing mantra. So we started out singing.
咁另外一個方式，頭先我哋一開始嘅時候唱誦呢一個 Hare Krishna 嘅 mantra， 都係一種嘅聆聽。
But you may notice when you're singing, chanting mantra, oh, that's nice, but whoops, there went the mind. Mind went out somewhere else.
咁可能唱誦嘅時候覺得好舒服啦，但係有一刻嗰個心意就飄走咗啦。
I gave example a few days ago. This chanting of Hare Krishna mantra can think of like on a car, you have the windshield wiper when it's raining.
咁我幾日之前咧俾咗個例子，就係當我哋去到唱誦 Hare Krishna 呢一個曼陀嘅時候咧，就好似嗰啲車嘅前面嗰個水撥。
So the rain on the front shield represents the obscuring of our vision by all the sense objects, including the mind.
咁所以，譬如啲雨水打落嚟嘅時候咧，嗰個鏡咧會蒙咗。咁呢個咧就係代表住咧我哋呢一個嘅感官啦，包括我哋嘅心念咧所製造出嚟嘅呢一個咁樣嘅模糊嘅一個景象。
And the windshield wiper is going constantly back and forth clearing.
咁呢個水壺咧要即係要左右搖擺啦，不停咁樣咧係去到清除呢一啲嘅即係模糊。
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
The other analogy, the traditional one, is the cleansing of a mirror.
咁另外一個比較傳統啲嘅例子咧，就係去到擦拭呢個鏡面。
When the mirror is clean, we see our reflection, everything is clear.
咁當呢一個鏡咧即係擦拭咗之後咧，咁我哋就能夠見到自己嘅樣喺裏面一個。
But if it's covered with, I don't know what, covered with dust, dirt, smeared with what? Lipstick?
咁如果塊鏡係風曬塵啊，或者有啲嘴唇膏印係唇膏，
then you don't see yourself.
咁你就見唔到自己啦。
So good hearing is clearing our consciousness to be able not to make it an empty consciousness, not at all. It's to see ourselves as we are.
咁所以呢一個嘅好嘅聆聽咧，就能夠去到擦拭呢一個嘅鏡啦，咁咧令到我哋能夠咧去到睇到真正嘅自己。
That process is generally a gradual process.
咁呢一個嘅過程咧係一個漸進式嘅。
And this is difficult for us in this age because we like everything to be very quick.
咁喺呢一個年代好困難，因為我哋想啲嘢就係速成咯。
We want quick results.
我哋好想咧即刻即係見效，立竿見影。
Especially in Hong Kong.
尤其是喺香港。
Yeah. So we have to. One of the qualifications to be successful in yoga practice is patience.
咁所以喺瑜伽嘅修習裏面，如果要取得成功咧，其中一個條件咧就係有耐性。
Patience, determination.
有耐性啦，同埋有決心。
Enthusiasm.
同埋有呢一個嘅熱情。
And conviction that there's going to be a result.
同埋有一個信念係得嘅，會有成果嘅。
Yeah. Is that okay?
I'm okay.
So, yeah. Okay. Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses.
博伽梵歌裏邊包含咗700個詩節。
And each one of them is very deep. And this edition of Bhagavad Gita has the commentary of my guru, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
咁博伽梵歌裏面每一個嘅詩節啦，個含義都係好深刻嘅。咁呢一個版本咧就係由我嘅 Guru Bhaktivedanta Swami 咧所去到翻譯嘅同埋評注。
One can study it again and again, lifetime, the whole life.
咁可以一生裏面咧不停不斷咁樣去到研習呢一本書。
And one can also, there's so much in the Bhagavad Gita and this commentary, there's more that can be said about Bhagavad Gita.
咁所以喺博伽梵歌裏面有呢個譯文啦，亦都有要旨啦，喺之外仲有可以更加多嘅內容。
So I made some attempt to say something more in this book, which is translated into 普通話。
咁我就希望將裡面嘅內容咧再去到發展啦，再去到擴展啦。咁我就寫咗呢一本書啦，就係涉越大川瑜伽哲學反思與跨文化比較研究。
Yeah. It starts, the first part is a summary of the Bhagavad Gita, focusing on the yoga feature of each chapter.
咁咧呢一本
18 yogas.
呢一本書嘅第一章咧就係叫做瑜伽18瑜伽。咁咧就去到針對咧每一章嘅內容咧做一個嘅簡易扼要。
And then I wrote 4 different articles that are explaining different aspects and making some comparisons with different traditions, including Buddhism, Religion, the Christian Bible.
咁另外我就做咗一啲嘅比較嘅研究啦，同呢一個嘅佛教啦、譯經啦，同埋呢一個聖經做一啲嘅比較。
And we did something very interesting. First time in world history, probably. We had compiled an annotated bibliography of translations into Chinese of Bhagavad Gita. Annotated bibliography. 書目
咁咧喺歷史呢個歷史裏面第一次咧就做咗一個對於to Bhagavad Gita
translations of Bhagavad Gita into Chinese. There's how many? Prem Sarovar did this research.
多少条？
我们是找到了，就是把那个国家梵歌翻译成中文的那些书，然后算上这一本，一共有28本。
28本。咁咧我哋就揾到對於博伽梵歌嘅翻譯嘅書，咁咧計埋呢一本咧就係有28本。
評注也是。
咁 計埋評注嘅，
和博伽梵歌有關係嗎？
或者同博伽梵歌有關嘅書，咁咧就做咗一個嘅書目。
Yeah. That's like this.
OK。書目係呢度有寫到唔同嘅譯本咯，有介紹博伽梵歌唔同嘅譯本嘅一啲資料。
包括台灣。
Yes. And Prema Sarora did the research.
咁係呢一位嘅女士咧做呢一個研究嘅，咁係佢書目。
Yes. Okay. Any other questions?
有冇其他嘅問題？
Yes, another.
I studied in Bhagavad Gita that the heart of the human body, there is soul and super soul, both are there. So I do understand soul, but I do not understand how super soul is there.
咁博伽梵歌裏面講話呢一個嘅自我啦、靈魂啦，同埋呢一個嘅超靈咧，都係個內心喎。咁我唔係好明白點樣超靈喺我哋嘅內心。
Yeah, the problem is we're trying to think in physical terms. Like there's some little, some little, like an almond or something is the soul, and there's a walnut, and that's the super soul.
因為我哋用物質嘅方法去諗，可能呢一個嘅杏仁就係代表靈魂，呢一個嘅合桃就係代表超靈喺我哋嘅心裏面。
And sometimes the descriptions are like that. There's one description, not here, in another book, which says that the soul, or the super soul, I think, is described as being the size of the thumb.
咁有另外一本書咧描述咧話呢一個嘅超靈咧，佢嘅大小咧就好似個大拇指咁樣。
Yeah.
So big.
So big. Yeah. So these are just giving some idea for the purpose of meditation.
咁呢個其實佢咁樣講法咧，就係幫助我哋去冥想。
But the soul, or the Atma, and the Paramatma, the super soul, they're not material. That means they're not physical. That means they don't have size in the same way we understand size.
咁所以但係其實呢一個靈魂或者超靈啦，其實佢冇一個嘅物質嘅，佢係非物質嘅，所以佢冇一個大小用我哋即係物質嘅計算。
But in the Gita, in chapter 15, Krishna says, Sarvasya cha aham pridi sannivishtaha. He says, I am sannivishtaha. I'm very much situated in pridi, in the heart of all beings.
咁但係梵歌裏面有個獅子 Krishna 講到咧，佢話佢係處喺每一個生命體當中嘅心裏面。
And Mattaha Smriti, from me is coming our power of memory.
咁從我呢一度咧，就賦予咧呢一個嘅記憶。
Krishna says from me, so he's saying from me comes remembrance, jnanam, which means knowledge.
從我呢度咧得到呢一個記憶啦，同埋知識。
And something he calls apohanam, which is, I think Prabhupada translates it as forgetfulness.
咁另外第三樣嘢咧就係遺忘。
So he says all this is coming from me and I'm in the heart.
咁呢啲三樣嘢都係源自我嘅，而我係喺你嘅心中。
Okay, so how does that work? Well, if we are hearing Krishna says, your memory is coming from me, then whenever we remember something, we can give credit to Krishna for remembering.
咁點樣去到睇咧？就係每當我哋記起一啲嘢嘅時候咧，我哋就可以將呢一樣嘢咧歸功於 Krishna。
Yeah. You ever have experience? You're trying to remember someone's name, can't remember their name.
你有冇試過想記起某個人嘅名，記唔起
And you're going,
？Always
always. But then you remember, maybe next day you go, oh yeah, I remember
係啊，
that.
咁可能第二日突然間醒起喎。
So that's Krishna. Krishna is withholding the memory, and then he's giving it.
咁嗰個就係 Krishna 啦，佢咧攞起你、收起你嗰個記憶，跟住又俾翻你。
And you say, Krishna, why didn't you let me remember yesterday?
咁你就同 Krishna 講，點解你唔俾我琴日記起呢個名咧？
Well, there could be many reasons why.
可以有好多原因嘅。
One could be that he wants us to remember that we depend on him.
咁其中一個原因咧，佢想去到話俾我哋聽，其實我哋係要依賴佢。
And there can be so many reasons.
有好多可以其他嘅原因嚟依賴佢。
Yeah, there are a lot of descriptions of meditations, different kinds of visualizations of the super soul in the heart.
咁所以對於內心嘅呢一個嘅超靈咧，可以有唔同嘅冥想啦，或者唔同嘅意象。
In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 27, I think there's describing the Lord in the heart. Very beautiful.
咁喺聖典《博伽雅談》呢一部經典裏面咧，第3篇嘅第27章咧，裏邊係非常之美麗咁樣去到描述喺心中嘅超靈住。
Yeah, so the Bhagavad Gita is a kind of step one, giving the basic process for practice of bhakti yoga. Yoga in general, and especially bhakti yoga.
咁所以《博伽梵歌》咧係一個嘅開始啦，第一步啦，就去認識瑜伽啦。咁廣泛係瑜伽啦，裡面再專注咧係講呢一個嘅奉愛瑜伽。
Especially bhakti because it's bhakti which is pleasing to Krishna.
特別係奉愛瑜伽啦，因為奉愛瑜伽咧能夠去到取悅 Krishna。
Pleasing to Yogeshwara, pleasing to Paramatma.
取悅呢一個瑜伽之主啦，或者取悅呢一位超靈。
He says in the 12th chapter, Arjuna asks in the 12th chapter in the beginning, so which is better to practice the yoga of gyan, of knowledge, and meditation and so on, or is it better to practice bhakti?
咁阿 Juna 喺第12章嘅時候咧，佢問咗一個問題，就係話究竟係去到收集呢一個嘅冥想啦，或者知識嘅瑜伽好啊，定係去到收集奉愛嘅瑜伽咧？
And Krishna says you can do either one.
咁 Krishna 話你可以二選其一嘅。
But the process of getting to reality through this, there's a long way and there's a short way, and the long way is going to be very difficult.
咁有兩個嘅方法啦。咁但係如果要去到通往呢一個嘅實相嘅話咧，有一條路咧就係長啲嘅，有一條路咧就係捷徑嚟嘅。
Basically, that's the way which I mentioned in the beginning, the Yoga Sutra is describing, which the commentary said, you're not going to be successful in this age.
咁所以頭先我一開始嘅時候講瑜伽經裏面描述嗰種方法咧，就係話呢一種幾乎係冇辦法去到做到嘅呢一種嘅方法。
So Krishna says, take the easy way.
咁 Krishna 話
Why torture yourself?
點解你要自己折磨自己咧？揀條容易啲嘅路啦。
Just chant Hare Krishna.
就係去到念誦 Hare Krishna。
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
This is my word.
呢個我嘅
dramatic prop.
水撥。
Okay, so thank you all very much.
多謝大家，
Thank you for your patience and attention, and now you can stretch.
多謝大家嘅容忍耐性。
I don't know. Is it done for 1 minute?
Yeah, should finish. What's about 1 minute?
Okay.
No. It's only 1 minute left. Is it okay? A practical short question. When we study Bhagavad, would you recommend we start from cover to cover, or can we jump? Sometimes devotees recommend us if we are facing a problem, just open the Gita and then you'll find the right verse.
咁Josh 嘅問題咧就係我哋去到遇到國家梵歌嘅時候，係咪應該由頭睇到尾啊？定係可以有陣時遇到問題嘅時候打開任何一頁，跟住就揾個答案？
So if that's like magical, you'll find a solution.
Yeah, there's no harm in doing that. There's many ways to read the Gita.
咁有好多唔同嘅方式咧去到讀國家梵歌嘅。
One thing I recommend for beginners is don't start with chapter 1.
咁對於初學者嚟嘅，我有個建議咧，就係唔好由第一章開始。
Because in chapter 1, there's, especially the first half of the chapter, there's so many names of warriors. And you read it and you say, what is going on here? What is this all about?
咁因為第一章咧，佢開頭嘅時候，開頭前半部分咧有好多呢一啲戰士嘅名字，所以你睇完之後你就，究竟發生咩事咧？
So start with chapter 2. That's my recommendation.
咁我嘅建議就係由第2章開始睇。
And later you can go back and get, because chapter 1 is setting the stage, and it's very much connected to the Mahabharata, of which the Bhagavad Gita is a small portion.
咁所以因為第一章佢開始嘅時候咧係講緊啲歷史啊，同呢一個嘅 Mahabharata 呢本書咧去到相關嘅，係啦。咁博伽梵歌只係裡面嘅其中一小部分。
But yes, you can sometimes just do this. That's okay.
咁你有時即係隨意翻開一頁睇都可以嘅。
It's good to be familiar with the Bhagavad Gita as a whole, and then later you can do like that. You can refer this way, that way.
咁所以可以一開始即係對博伽梵歌有個整體嘅認識，咁之後你可以再去到睇裡面嘅詩節。詩節 verses 係。
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for translating.
Thank you, Krishna Kshetra Swami. Thank you.